The next morning, Captain Lee Dae-ho woke up to an emergency call from Ambassador Kim Hee-jin. Her face on the communication screen looked worried but also a little amused. "Lee, we have a problem," she said. "The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting last night. They want a complete technical inspection of your ship. They are sending their best engineers and weapons experts." Lee sat up in his bed. "When?" "In 2 hours." "And Lee?" "They are not happy. Velthar spent all night reading the Warfare Limitation Accords. He found that we followed every rule perfectly, but he thinks we are trying to trick them somehow." Lee got dressed quickly and called his senior officers to the bridge. Admiral Park was already there, drinking coffee and looking at reports on his datapad. "Sir," said Chief Engineer Choi Byung-ho as he arrived on the bridge, "I heard about the inspection. Should I hide anything?" "Hide?" Admiral Park laughed. "No, Choi, show them everything. Make sure they understand exactly what we built and why." Dr. Yoon Sora, the head of human military research, was the last to arrive. She carried a large case full of technical documents and research data. "Gentlemen, I have been preparing for this day for 5 years. Every piece of technology on this ship can be explained and justified using galactic law." The alien inspection team arrived exactly on time. This time there were 12 aliens instead of 6. They brought much better scanning equipment and several large computers to analyze what they found. Velthar was still leading the group, but now he had help from experts in weapons technology, shield systems, and ship construction. They all looked very serious. "Captain Lee," Velthar said, "we need to understand how you built this ship. Our analysis shows that it has the fighting power of an entire battle fleet, but you claim it follows our laws." "It does follow your laws," Lee said. "Chief Engineer Choi will explain everything." Choi Byung-ho smiled and gestured for the group to follow him. He was proud of his work and happy to show it off. "Please come with me. I will show you how we solved each problem." They started with the weapon systems. Choi led them to a display that showed the ship's weapon layout. The alien stared at the screen in shock. Red dots covered every part of the ship, showing where weapons were placed. "The Warfare Limitation Accords say that no single weapon can produce more than 50 terawatts of power," Choi explained. "So we built 8,000 weapons that each produce exactly 49 terawatts. Each weapon follows the law perfectly." A blue-skinned alien engineer raised one of his 4 hands. "But why so many? Most ships have 20 or 30 weapons at most." "Because the law does not say we cannot have many weapons," Choi answered. "It only limits how powerful each weapon can be. So we made many small weapons instead of few big weapons." Commander Kang Min-soo, the ship's tactical officer, stepped forward. "Would you like to see how they work together?" He activated a simulation on the main screen. It showed the Taeguk's Fury fighting against a group of enemy ships. Thousands of small energy beams shot out from the human ship, creating a wall of deadly light around it. Enemy weapons could not get through, and enemy ships were destroyed very quickly. "This is impossible," said a tall alien with green skin. "No ship can coordinate so many weapons at once." Dr. Yoon Sora opened her case and pulled out a datapad. "Actually, it is quite possible. We developed new computer systems that can control all weapons together. Each computer follows galactic law for artificial intelligence. We just used many computers working together." The alien engineers looked at each other nervously. They had never thought about using many small systems instead of one big system. The group moved to the defense systems next. Here, Choi showed them another surprise. Instead of energy shields like most ships used, the Taeguk's Fury had thick armor made from many different materials layered together. "The Accords limit the power of defensive energy shields," Choi explained. "So we decided not to use energy shields at all. We use physical armor instead. The law says nothing about how thick armor can be." Velthar was reading his datapad again, checking the legal text. "This is technically correct, but this armor is incredibly thick. How do you move the ship with so much weight?" "With many small engines instead of few big engines," Choi answered. "The law limits the power of individual engines, not how many engines we can have." They spent the next 3 hours going through every system on the ship. The aliens found that humans had approached every single rule in the same way. Where the law said they could not make something big and powerful, humans made many things that were small and worked together. The power systems were the most impressive. Instead of one massive reactor, the ship had 47 smaller reactors. Each reactor was exactly at the legal power limit. but together they produced more energy than any ship in the galaxy. "How do you control so many reactors safely?" asked an engineer who looked like a walking crystal. "Very carefully," Choi said with a grin. "We have backup systems for our backup systems, and backup systems for those too." Dr. Yoon So-ra showed them her research data. "We spent 50 years studying every galactic law about military technology. We learned that the laws were written by species who think very differently from humans." "What do you mean?" Velthar asked. "Other species seem to accept limitations and work within them. Humans see limitations as problems to solve. When you tell us we cannot make one big weapon, we ask why we cannot make many small weapons instead." The inspection team grew quieter as the day went on. They realized that humans had not broken any laws or found secret loopholes. They had simply read the laws very carefully and thought about them in ways that other species never considered. "Captain Lee," said a small alien with purple fur. "How long did it take to design this ship?" 15 years from first concept to completion," Lee answered. "And how many engineers worked on it?" Admiral Park answered this time. "About 50,000 working in teams all over Earth." The aliens made various sounds of surprise and worry. Most alien ships were designed by small teams of a few hundred engineers at most. "Captain," Velthar said slowly, "you mentioned yesterday that this is just your first try. What did you mean?" Lee looked at Admiral Park, who nodded. "We learned many things while building this ship. Our next ships will be better designed and more efficient. We are already building 12 more ships of this class." 12 more? Velthar's clicking sounds got very fast. "Oh yes," Dr. Yoon So-ra said cheerfully. "And we have designs for even more advanced ships. Ships that will make this one look simple." She pulled out another datapad and showed them some basic diagrams. The aliens stared at pictures of ships that were even larger and more complex than the Taeguk's Fury. "These designs also follow galactic law?" asked the crystal alien. "Every single rule," Dr. Yoon confirmed. "We have teams of lawyers who check everything twice." As the inspection ended, the aliens gathered in a small group and talked quietly among themselves. Lee could not understand their languages, but their body language showed they were very worried. Velthar approached Lee one final time. "Captain, your ship is legally compliant with all galactic laws. We cannot find any violations." "Good," Lee said. "We worked very hard to make sure of that. However," Velthar continued, "the Council is concerned about the implications of your technology. We may need to discuss new regulations." Admiral Park stepped forward. "Counselor, humans have spent 50 years learning your current laws. We would be very interested in any new laws you might propose. Our legal teams love studying regulations." The way he said it made it sound like a friendly comment, but Lee could see that the aliens understood the real meaning. If they changed the laws, humans would just find new ways to work within the new rules. As the aliens left the ship, Commander Kang Min-soo walked up to Lee. "Sir, do you think they will try to ban our ships?" Lee watched the alien shuttles flying back to the station. "They can try, but humans are very good at following rules, even new ones. The galaxy was about to learn that putting limits on humans was like trying to hold water in a net. It just made humans more creative." Captain Lee Dae-ho stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was huge, bigger than any human city. Thousands of alien ships moved around it like insects around a bright light. Some ships looked like metal fish, others like flying crystals or floating rocks. Lee had never seen so many different types of ships in one place. "Sir, we are getting signals from the station," said his communications officer. "They want to know our business here." Lee smiled a little. "Tell them we are here for the military inspection," the one they asked for. Behind him, Admiral Park Jin-woo walked up to stand next to his chair. The older man looked serious as he watched the alien ships on the screen. "Remember, Lee, they think we are just another small species trying to join their club. Let them keep thinking that for now." Lee nodded. He knew the plan. For 50 years, humans had worked hard to join the Galactic Council. They had followed every rule, signed every paper, and proved they were peaceful. But peaceful did not mean weak. The Taeguk's Fury moved slowly toward the docking area. Lee could see alien ships moving away to give them room. That was good. His ship was 1 kilometer long and needed space to dock safely. On the station, Ambassador Kim Hye-jin was already waiting for them. She had been working with the aliens for years, learning their ways and their laws. She was smart and careful, and Lee trusted her completely. "Captain," his tactical officer called out, The aliens are scanning our ship. Their scanners are very basic. They cannot see much through our hull. Lee was not surprised. Human technology had grown very advanced in the last 100 years. While the aliens had been comfortable with their old ways, humans had been busy improving everything they could. The docking took 30 minutes. When it was done, Lee could see aliens waiting on the station through the security cameras. They looked nervous. Some were tall and thin like walking sticks. Others were short and covered in fur. A few looked like giant bugs standing on 2 legs. "Sir, we have permission to open the airlock," reported his security chief. "Open it. Let our guest come aboard." The first alien to enter was tall and looked like a giant insect. His name was Counselor Velthar, and he was the head of the Galactic Military Oversight Committee. He had 4 arms and big black eyes that seemed to look everywhere at once. Behind him came 5 other aliens from different species. They all carried small devices that would scan the ship and check if it followed galactic law. "Welcome aboard the Taeguk's Fury," Lee said politely. "I am Captain Lee Daeho. This is Admiral Park Jin-woo." Velthar made a clicking sound with his mouthparts. Through his translation device, his words came out in perfect human language. "Captain, we are here to inspect your vessel. The Galactic Council must make sure all military ships follow the Warfare Limitation Accords." Lee nodded. "Of course. We are happy to show you everything. Ambassador Kim has all our paperwork ready for you to check." The group moved through the ship slowly. Lee watched the aliens look around with growing confusion. The corridors were wide and tall. The walls looked strong and thick. Everything seemed much bigger than what they expected from a new species. When they reached the main bridge, one alien made a soft whistling sound. "Captain, this bridge is very large. How many crew members work here?" 50 during normal operations," Lee answered. 100 during combat." The aliens looked at each other. Their ships usually had bridges with only 10 or 20 crew members. They moved to the weapons deck next. This was where Lee knew the real surprise would begin. The alien inspectors pulled out their scanning devices and started checking the weapon systems. "Captain," Velthar said, his voice sounding strange through the translator. "These weapon readings are unusual. How many weapon systems does this ship have?" Lee looked at his weapons officer, who checked his display. "We have 8,412 individual weapon systems, sir." The alien stopped moving. One of them made a choking sound. Another dropped his scanning device. 8,000, Velthar repeated. "That cannot be correct. The Warfare Limitation Accords clearly state that no ship can have more than 100 weapon systems." Ambassador Kim stepped forward. She had been quiet until now, but Lee could see she was ready for this moment. "Counselor, if you check Section 12 of the Accords, you will see that the law limits the maximum power output of each individual weapon system. It does not limit how many systems a ship can have." She handed him a data pad with the exact words from the galactic law. Velthar read it carefully, his big eyes moving back and forth across the screen. "This is technically correct," he said slowly, "but no species has ever built this many weapons on one ship." "Humans like to be thorough," Admiral Park said with a small smile. The inspection continued to the engine room. Here the aliens found another surprise. Instead of one big reactor like most ships had, the Taeguk's Fury had 47 smaller reactors all working together. "Why so many reactors?" asked a furry alien whose name was hard for humans to say. "The Accords limit the maximum power output of any single reactor," Lee explained. "They do not limit how many reactors a ship can have." Velthar was looking at his datapad again, checking the laws. His clicking sounds were getting faster and louder. Lee thought the alien might be getting angry or worried. The inspection took 4 hours. By the end, the aliens looked tired and confused. They had found thousands of weapons, dozens of reactors, armor that was stronger than anything they had seen before, and systems they did not understand. But everything followed galactic law exactly. "Captain Lee," Velthar said finally, "your ship is very large and very powerful. Are all human warships like this?" Lee looked at Admiral Park, who nodded slightly. "No, Counselor. This is just our first try at building a ship that follows your laws. Our engineers are already working on better designs." The alien's forearms moved in what might have been shock or fear. "Better designs?" "Oh yes," Lee said calmly. "We have learned a lot from building this ship. The next ships will be much more efficient." As the aliens left the ship, Lee could hear them talking quickly in their own languages. They sounded worried. Ambassador Kim stayed behind to talk with Lee and Admiral Park. How do you think they took it? She asked. Admiral Park laughed. I think they are going to have some very interesting discussions tonight. Lee watched the alien ships on his screen as they moved away from the Taiguk's fury. He knew that everything was about to change. The galaxy had rules about war and peace, but they had never met humans before. Humans were very good at following rules while still doing exactly what they wanted to do. Tomorrow, the real conversations would begin. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began 6 hours after the combat exercise ended. Captain Lee Daeho watched the proceedings from the observation deck of Nexus Prime Station, along with Admiral Park Jin-woo and Ambassador Kim Hee-jin. Below them, representatives from 47 different alien species filled the massive council chamber. The air buzzed with translation devices working in dozens of languages. Lee had never seen the aliens look so worried and angry at the same time. Counselor Velthar stood at the center podium, his 4 arms moving as he spoke. Fellow council members, we have witnessed something unprecedented. A single human warship defeated 12 of our finest vessels in 17 minutes. This raises serious questions about galactic security. A tall, snake-like alien rose from his seat. Lee recognized him as the representative from the Vega system. Counselor Velthar, the humans followed our laws exactly. Their ship may be powerful, but it is legal under current regulations. Legal, yes, clicked Velthar. But is it safe? How do we know the humans will not use this power to conquer other species? Ambassador Kim leaned forward in her seat. This is not going well. Half the council wants to ban us immediately. The other half is afraid of what might happen if they try. Admiral Park watched the alien representatives argue among themselves. They are scared. I understand that. But fear makes people do stupid things. Dr. Han Woo-jin, a human scientist who studied alien cultures, walked up to join them. He had been working with Ambassador Kim for years, learning how different species thought and behaved. Admiral Captain, Dr. Han said quietly, I have been analyzing the Council's discussion. The problem is not just military. It is cultural. Most alien species evolved to accept limitations and work within them. Humans evolved to overcome limitations and find new solutions. What does that mean for us? Lee asked. It means they literally cannot understand how you think. When they see rules, they see boundaries that must not be crossed. When you see rules, you see puzzles that can be solved. On the council floor below, a new speaker had taken the podium. This was scientist Kixtal from the Centauri Academy, one of the galaxy's most respected research institutions. The small blue-skinned alien was known for being very smart and very honest. Council members, Kixtal said in a high musical voice, I have spent the last 3 days analyzing human technology. I must report my findings. The chamber became quiet. Everyone knew that Kixtal never made reports unless they were very important. The humans are not using unknown science or secret technology. Everything on their ship can be explained using physics and engineering principles that we all understand. They are simply applying these principles in ways that we never considered. A furry alien from the Outer Rim system stood up. Scientist Kixtal, are you saying that we could build ships like theirs? Theoretically, yes, but practically no. The human approach requires a way of thinking that is fundamentally different from our own. They see possibilities where we see limitations. Kixtal activated a holographic display that showed technical diagrams of human ship systems. For example, our laws limit the power of individual weapon systems. We accept this limitation and build ships with fewer, weaker weapons. Humans ask a different question. Why not build many weak weapons that work together? Lee watched the aliens study the diagrams. He could see them struggling to understand the human approach. The most important discovery, Kixtal continued, is that this ship represents humans holding back their capabilities, not pushing them to the limit. The chamber erupted in surprise sounds from dozens of different species. What do you mean? Demanded Velthar. Captain Lee told us this is their first attempt at building within galactic law. They have more advanced designs ready to build. If we force them into actual conflict, they have ships that would make this one look primitive. A communication screen activated at the front of the chamber. The image showed President Moon Jae-young of the United Earth Government, speaking from her office on Earth. Council members, President Moon said, her voice calm and steady. I want to address your concerns directly. The chamber became completely silent. It was rare for a planetary leader to speak directly to the Galactic Council. Humanity has spent 50 years working to join your community peacefully. We have followed every rule, signed every treaty, and proved our commitment to galactic peace. But we are not a weak species that can be bullied or controlled. President Moon's image looked directly at the camera, and Lee felt like she was speaking to each council member individually. You have two choices. Accept humanity as equal partners in galactic civilization, or learn what happens when you try to suppress a species that views every limitation as a challenge to overcome. She paused to let her words sink in. Dr. Han Wu-jin mentioned that humans think differently from other species. This is true. We evolved as persistence hunters and problem solvers. When faced with obstacles, we do not give up or accept defeat. We find ways around, over, under, or through them. The president activated her own holographic display, showing images of human ships under construction in orbital shipyards around Earth. The Taeguk's Fury represents our attempt to build within your current laws. These ships represent what we build when we do not have such restrictions. The images showed vessels that made the Taeguk's Fury look small and simple. Some were twice as long. Others had configurations that the aliens had never seen before. We prefer cooperation to conflict, President Moon continued. But if the Galactic Council chooses to treat humanity as an enemy, you will discover why we survived every challenge our planet could throw at us, and why we reached the stars despite starting with nothing but curiosity and determination. The communication ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. Councillor Velthar was the first to speak. Is this a threat? Ambassador Kim stood up in the observation deck. May I address the council? After a moment of hesitation, Velthar gestured for her to come down to the speaker's podium. Kim walked calmly to the center of the chamber. Lee could see that all the aliens were watching her carefully. Council members, President Moon was not making a threat. She was explaining a fact. Humans do not start fights, but we finish them. We prefer to build and explore and learn, but we are very good at protecting ourselves when necessary. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from different species. The Taeguk's Fury was not built to conquer anyone. It was built to protect humanity and our friends from threats. The question you must answer is simple. Do you want humans as friends or enemies? A crystal-like alien from the inner systems raised one of its geometric arms. Ambassador Kim, how can we trust that humans will not use their power against weaker species? Kim smiled. Because we already proved it. Captain Lee's ship could have destroyed Admiral Tak's entire fleet in minutes. Instead, it disabled their ships carefully and made sure no one was hurt. That is how humans fight when we are not truly threatened. And when you are truly threatened? Asked the snake-like representative. Then we fight to win, Kim answered simply. Just like any other species would. The council session continued for hours. Species that had been enemies for centuries found themselves agreeing about the human problem. Some wanted to ban human ships immediately. Others argued that trying to restrict humanity would only make them more dangerous. Dr. Han Wu-jin leaned over to Admiral Park. Sir, I think the council is going to split. Some species will accept us, others will try to restrict us. That could break the Galactic Council apart. Admiral Park nodded grimly. That would be bad for everyone. The council keeps the peace between species that hate each other. As the session moved toward a vote, Lee realized that humanity had created a crisis without meaning to. They had followed every rule perfectly, but their success had scared the galaxy's leaders. Now everyone had to decide what kind of future they wanted. The vote, when it came, was exactly what Dr. Han predicted. 24 species voted to accept humanity as full members of the Galactic Council. 23 species voted to restrict human military development. The council was split almost perfectly in half. Councillor Velthar announced the results with obvious frustration. Without a clear majority, the council cannot take official action. The human application for membership will remain under review pending further discussion. As the aliens filed out of the chamber, Lee knew that everything had changed. The galaxy was no longer united under one council. Instead, it was divided between those who trusted humans and those who feared them. The real question was what would happen next. 3 days after the technical inspection, Captain Lee Dae-ho received an official message from the Galactic Council. The message was formal and polite, but Lee could sense the worry behind the careful words. The Galactic Council requests a practical demonstration of the human vessel Taeguk's Fury to ensure all systems operate within Acceptable parameters during actual combat conditions. Admiral. Park Jin-woo read the message over Lee's shoulder and laughed. They want to see what we can really do. I think they hope to find some weakness they missed during the inspection. Ambassador Kim Hee-jin joined them on the bridge. She looked concerned. Lee, this is not just a test. The Council met in emergency session for 12 hours yesterday. Some species are talking about declaring humans a threat to galactic security. What does that mean? Asked Commander Kang Min-soo. It means they might try to force us out of the Council before we officially join, Kim explained. If they can prove our ships are too dangerous, they can reject our membership application. Lee nodded slowly. He had expected this. Humans had followed every rule perfectly, but sometimes following rules too well made people nervous. What kind of test do they want? He asked. Kim handed him another datapad. Combat exercises in the Kepler debris field. Your ship against a joint alien fleet. Lee read the details. The Kepler debris field was a massive area of space filled with asteroids and old shipwrecks. It was used for military training because it was dangerous and unpredictable. Ships had to be careful not to crash into rocks while fighting. How many ships in their fleet? Admiral Park asked. 12 ships, Kim answered. The best from 6 different species. They are commanded by Fleet Admiral Tak Gildong of the Rigel Navy. He has never lost a battle. Lee had heard of Admiral Tak. The alien was famous throughout the galaxy for his smart tactics and careful planning. His fleet had won battles against pirates and rebels for 30 years. When do they want to do this test? Lee asked. Tomorrow. They do not want to give us time to modify our ship or change our tactics. Lee smiled. They think we need to prepare? Chief Engineer Choi, is our ship ready for combat? Choi Byung-ho looked up from his engineering console. Sir, all systems are operating at 100% efficiency. We could fight right now if needed. The next morning, the Taeguk's Fury left Nexus Prime and headed for the Kepler debris field. Behind them came 12 alien warships in perfect formation. Lee watched them on his tactical display. They moved like dancers, each ship in exactly the right position. Also following was Captain No Yoon-young in the human destroyer Soul's Pride. Her ship was much smaller than the Taeguk's Fury, but it was also built using human engineering principles. Lee was glad to have her there as backup, even though the rules said she could not help in the fight. The debris field was amazing to see. Thousands of asteroids floated in space, some as small as cars and others as big as cities. Old wrecked ships drifted between the rocks, their metal hulls torn and twisted from ancient battles. This is Fleet Admiral Tak Gildong, came a voice over the communication system. The translation made his words sound formal and serious. Human vessel, we will begin the exercise in 1 hour. You will have time to study the battlefield and prepare your tactics. Thank you, Admiral, Lee replied. We are ready to begin whenever you are. Lieutenant Commander Bae Dong-hyun, the weapons specialist, turned from his console. Sir, I have completed scanning the debris field. The alien fleet is positioning themselves in a standard attack formation. They plan to surround us and attack from multiple directions. Lee nodded. It was a good plan that had worked for Admiral Tak many times before. Most ships would have trouble fighting enemies coming from all sides while avoiding asteroids at the same time. Commander Kang, what do our computers recommend? Kang Min-soo checked his tactical display. Sir, our combat computers have analyzed 17,000 possible battle scenarios in the last 30 minutes. They recommend a direct assault followed by defensive positioning near the large asteroid cluster in Sector 7. Sounds reasonable. Lieutenant Commander Bae, are all weapon systems ready? Yes, sir. All 8,412 weapon systems are online and ready to fire. The exercise began with Admiral Tak's fleet spreading out in a wide circle around the Taeguk's Fury. They moved slowly and carefully, making sure not to give the human ship any easy targets. It was exactly what Lee expected from an experienced commander. Sir, reported the sensor officer, the alien ships are trying to scan our weapons and defenses. Their scanners cannot penetrate our hull completely, but they are getting some information. Let them scan, Lee said. They will see what they expect to see. Admiral Tak's first attack came from 3 directions at once. Energy beams and missiles shot toward the Taeguk's Fury from ships hidden behind large asteroids. It was a clever attack that should have forced the human ship to divide its defensive fire. Instead, something happened that Admiral Tak had never seen before. Thousands of small energy beams shot out from the human ship, creating a glowing wall of light around it. Every incoming missile was destroyed before it could get close. Every energy beam was blocked by defensive fire. Impossible, Lee heard Admiral Tak say over the open communication channel. No ship can coordinate that many defensive weapons. But the human ship was just getting started. While its defensive systems handled the alien attack perfectly, its offensive weapons began to fire back. Hundreds of precisely aimed energy beams shot toward the alien ships, forcing them to retreat behind asteroids for protection. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Bay reported, "I am targeting their engine systems only. Orders are to disable, not destroy." "Good. We want them to go home with their ships intact." The battle quickly became one-sided. Admiral Tak tried every tactic he knew. He split his fleet into smaller groups. He used the asteroids for cover. He tried to attack the human ship's engines and weapons directly. Nothing worked. The Teguk's Fury moved through the debris field like it was dancing. Its many small engines let it turn and accelerate faster than any ship its size should be able to move. When alien ships tried to hide behind asteroids, the human ship simply went around them or shot past them at incredible speed. "How are they moving so fast?" Admiral Tak asked over the communication system. He sounded confused and frustrated. "Many small engines instead of few big engines," Lee replied politely. "It gives us better control." One by one, the alien ships were disabled by precise weapons fire. Their engines stopped working, or their weapons systems shut down, but their hulls remained undamaged and their crews were safe. The human weapons were accurate enough to hit exactly what they wanted to hit and nothing else. "Sir," Commander Kang reported, "we have disabled 9 alien ships. 3 remain active, but they are retreating to the edge of the debris field." Lee checked the time. The battle had lasted exactly 17 minutes. "Admiral Tak, do you wish to continue the exercise?" There was a long pause before Admiral Tak answered. "No, Captain Lee, the exercise is complete. We need to analyze what we have observed." As the disabled alien ships used their backup systems to restart their engines, Lee opened a communication channel to Captain No Yoon Young on the Soul's Pride. "Captain No, what did you think of our performance?" "Adequate, sir," she replied with a smile in her voice. "Though I think my ship could have achieved similar results." Lee knew she was right. The Soul's Pride was smaller than the Teguk's Fury, but it used the same design principles. Many small systems working together instead of few large systems working alone. Admiral Tak's fleet regrouped slowly. Lee could see the alien ships scanning each other, checking for damage and making sure everyone was safe. They had been completely outmatched, but the human ship had been careful not to hurt anyone. "Captain Lee," Admiral Tak said over the communication system, "may I ask how many crew members you lost during the battle?" "None, sir. We had no injuries or casualties. And how many of our ships could you have destroyed if this had been a real battle?" Lee looked at his tactical display. His computers had been tracking all 12 alien ships throughout the fight. At any moment, the Teguk's Fury could have switched from disabling weapons to deadly ones. "All of them, sir. In approximately the same amount of time." Another long pause. "I see, Captain, your ship is very impressive. We will report our findings to the Galactic Council." As both fleets headed back toward Nexus Prime, Lee sat in his captain's chair and thought about what had just happened. The aliens had wanted to test human military capabilities, and they had gotten their answer. But Lee wondered if they were prepared for what that answer meant. Admiral Park walked up to stand beside him. "Think they learned anything useful?" Lee watched the alien ships on his screen. They were flying in a tight defensive formation, as if they expected another attack at any moment. "I think they learned that human ships are exactly as dangerous as they feared," Lee said. "The question is what they plan to do about it." The real test was not the battle they had just fought. The real test was what would happen when they got back to the station. The galaxy was about to decide whether humans were friends or enemies, and Lee knew that decision would change everything. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council split over the human question. Captain Lee Dae-ho, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the new human flagship Indomitable and watched his fleet patrol the space lanes around the galactic core. The galaxy had changed dramatically. The warfare limitation accords had been completely rewritten 3 times as alien species tried to account for human innovations. Each time, human engineers found new ways to work within the updated rules while building even more advanced ships. Admiral Oh Soo-bin, commander of the Human Defense Fleet, appeared on Lee's communication screen. She was aboard her own flagship, the Soul's Thunder, leading a patrol near the Outer Rim territories. "Lee, I have the monthly security report," she said. "Pirate attacks in human-protected sectors are down 94% from last year. Most criminal organizations have moved to areas where we do not patrol." Lee nodded. The presence of human warships had an interesting effect on space criminals. Ships that could defeat entire battle fleets in minutes made piracy seem like a very bad career choice. "Any problems with our alien partners?" Lee asked. "None. The species that chose to work with us are very happy with the protection we provide. Trade is up, conflicts are down, and everyone feels safer." This was true. 26 alien species had eventually decided to form a new alliance with humanity. They had discovered that humans were much better at protecting trade routes and keeping peace than the old Galactic Council had been. Councillor Murthak, a progressive leader from the Arcturus system, had become the chairman of this new alliance. Unlike the old council, which spent months arguing about every decision, the new alliance could act quickly when problems arose. Lee's communication officer interrupted his thoughts. "Sir, we are receiving a priority message from Nexus Prime. It is marked urgent and classified. Put it through." The screen showed Ambassador Kim Hae-jin, but she looked worried in a way that Lee had not seen since the council crisis 6 months ago. "Lee, we have a problem. A big one. Unknown ships have been attacking colonies near the Galactic Rim. The attack started 3 weeks ago, but the news is just reaching the core systems now." Lee felt his stomach tighten. "Unknown ships? You mean a species we have not contacted yet?" "We do not think they are from this galaxy at all. The technology is completely different from anything we have seen before. And Lee, they are not interested in talking." The screen changed to show tactical data from the attacked colonies. Lee studied the information with growing concern. The attacking ships used energy weapons that worked in ways human science could not explain. Their hulls were made from materials that did not appear in any galactic database. "How many colonies have been hit?" Lee asked. 17 so far. "They attack without warning, destroy all defenses, and take prisoners. We think they are studying us." Captain Lim Tae-hyun, Lee's new tactical officer, looked up from his console. "Sir, if these aliens are from outside our galaxy, they might be scouts for a much larger force." Lee had been thinking the same thing. An invasion from outside the galaxy was something that no one had prepared for. The old Galactic Council had always assumed that the biggest threats would come from species they already knew about. "Kim, what does the old council want to do about this?" Ambassador Kim's expression became even more serious. "That is the problem, Lee. The old council cannot agree on anything. Half the remaining species want to investigate carefully before taking action. The other half want to send a large military force immediately. They have been arguing for 2 weeks while more colonies get attacked." Lee understood the situation now. The galaxy faced a threat that required quick action and united response. But the old council system was too slow and divided to handle a real crisis. "What about our alliance partners?" "Councillor Murthak has already contacted me. The alliance is ready to act, but we need human military leadership. Our ships are the only ones that might be able to fight these new aliens effectively." Lee looked around his bridge. His crew was listening to every word, and he could see the determination in their faces. This was exactly the kind of situation that human warships had been designed to handle. "Kim, tell Councillor Murthak that the Human Defense Fleet will investigate these attacks. We will find out who these aliens are and what they want." "Lee, there is something else. Yesterday, the old council received a formal request for help. It came from Councillor Velthar himself." Lee was surprised. Velthar had been one of the loudest voices calling for restrictions on human military power. For him to ask for human help meant the situation was truly desperate. What did he say? He said that the galaxy made a mistake when it tried to limit human capabilities. He formally requests that humanity take leadership of a joint defense force to deal with this threat. Lee leaned back in his captain's chair. 6 months ago, the galaxy had been terrified of human military power. Now they were begging for that same power to protect them from something even more dangerous. "Captain Lim, send messages to all human fleet commanders. Tell them to prepare for extended operations near the Galactic Rim. We are going to war." "Yes, sir." "Sir, should I inform the crews about the nature of the threat?" Lee thought about it. His crews deserve to know what they might be facing. "Tell them we are dealing with an unknown alien force from outside our galaxy. Tell them that this is exactly why we built our ships to be so powerful. As his communication officer sent the fleet-wide message, Lee opened a direct channel to Admiral O. Subin. How quickly can you get your ships to the Rim territories? 72 hours if we push the engines hard. Do you want me to engage the enemy if I find them? No, observe and report first. We need to understand what we are dealing with before we commit to battle. Lee then opened a channel to Earth, connecting directly to President Moon Jae-young's office. Madam President, we have a situation that requires immediate attention. President Moon listened carefully as Lee explained about the attacks and the request for human leadership. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Lee, this is what we always feared might happen, a threat that the galaxy could not handle alone. Are you confident that our ships can deal with these new aliens? I do not know yet, Madam President. But our ships were designed to fight enemies that we could not imagine. If anyone can handle this threat, it is us. Then you have my full authorization. Use whatever resources you need. The survival of galactic civilization may depend on human military capabilities. Over the next week, the largest human fleet ever assembled moved toward the Galactic Rim. 57 warships, including 12 of the new Indomitable-class vessels that made the original Taeguk's Fury look small and outdated. As they traveled, Lee received regular reports from the attacked sectors. The pattern was always the same. Unknown ships would appear without warning, overwhelm local defenses in minutes, and disappear with prisoners and technology samples. Sir, Captain Lim reported, we are receiving a transmission from the Rim territories. It is from the colony ship New Busan. They are under attack right now. Lee felt his blood go cold. The New Busan was a civilian transport carrying 15,000 colonists to a new world near the galactic edge. How far are we from their position? 6 hours at maximum speed. All ships, emergency acceleration. We are going to save those people. As the human fleet raced toward the battle, Lee thought about how much had changed since his first meeting with the Galactic Council. Then aliens had been afraid of human military power. Now that same power was the galaxy's only hope for survival. Sir, his sensor officer called out, we are detecting energy signatures ahead. Multiple ships in combat. Battle stations. All crews prepare for engagement with unknown enemy forces. Lee looked at the tactical display showing the enemy ships for the first time. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Organic-looking vessels that seemed to grow rather than being built. Their weapons created patterns of energy that human science could not explain. But as he watched the enemy ships destroy civilian defenses with casual ease, Lee felt something that the aliens had never seen from humans before: genuine anger. Captain Lim, you may fire when ready. Show them what happens when they threaten innocent people in our galaxy. The battle that followed would become legend throughout the galaxy. For the first time, the mysterious invaders met ships that could fight back effectively. Human vessels swarmed around the alien ships like angry insects, their thousands of weapons creating a deadly light show in space. When it was over, the enemy ships were destroyed or retreating, and the New Busan was safe. But Lee knew this was just the beginning. The real war was yet to come. As he helped coordinate rescue operations for the damaged colony ship, Lee opened a communication channel to the entire galaxy. This is Admiral Lee Dae-ho of the Human Defense Fleet. To all species, both those who trust us and those who fear us, we will protect this galaxy. That is our promise to you. The species that had once tried to prohibit human warships were about to discover what those ships had truly been designed to fight.